pulled all of this information together. I was asked like everyone I worked with at the time away in the office that was a woman, put it all in a spreadsheet, and then I put this spreadsheet.
Who does that?
I'm psychotic. But I'm really very organized. And I put it in my Instagram story, and it was just like, it's been shared hundreds of times at this point.
I'm Tom Ward, and over the last couple of years, I've had the chance to sit down with some of the biggest celebrities and influencers in the world. What I've always found most fascinating is the stories of the businesses that they've built behind the scenes. On this show, you'll get an inside look of what it takes to build a successful business from some of the biggest celebrities, business people, and up-and-coming entrepreneurs in the world. This is The Tom Ward Show.
Guys, welcome to the Tom Ward Show, where we talk to the biggest entrepreneurs in the world. Today, we've got somebody who's Forbes 30 under 30, Emma Bates, co-founder of Diem, which is a social platform for women and non-binary individuals. And I was checking out the blogs yesterday. I mean, as I just said, it's not really for me. I wasn't included in that list, but I really
you can read them.
I read them. I thought it was pretty cool. What I found most fascinating was before you even, went live, you had a 20,000 person waiting list, right?
Yeah.
How did you pull that off? How did they find out about you? How did they get excited enough to sign up?
Yeah, well, I guess to preface all of it, because I'm about to make it sound very easy, I've done
20 grand? What's that? That's no big deal.
I've done marketing for basically my whole career prior to founding Diem. So we knew that when we wanted to start gaining interest around the beta product rolling out, an easy sort of way to do that would be via a milestone campaign. And so what we did is we started Diem as a newsletter. The newsletter had slowly got subscribers via referrals and people sort of like sharing it on social.
Who was slow down for a second, right? This is easy. This is easy to you, right? But we don't know. Yeah. So who's writing the content and stuff?
Me.
You. This is all you.
Yeah. So for the first year, I wrote all of it, and I still write our weekly newsletter, but we have an editor, so she helps sort of pull it all together and make it sound even better.
And how often are you writing during this time in the beginning?
Every week.
Oh, every week you're doing a new newsletter every week. Okay.
Yeah. So from the newsletter subscribers, we basically launched a milestone campaign, which is where you set 4 or 5 different milestones. And the goal is for someone to refer like 5, 10, 15, 20 friends.
Okay.
And it basically went viral. So I really don't know how things, you can manipulate them to go viral without lots of press placements and all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, it went viral. So we ended up with lots of people, which was great.
So you founded this 2 years ago with your co-founder.
Yeah.
What inspired you? Was there a moment, like where did all this come from?
Yeah, I had to take the morning after pill about 4 years ago maybe now. And I had never taken it before. And so I just ended up in this almost like internet doom spiral, trying to understand what was going to happen, because I'd had previously like really bad experience with birth control. I hadn't been on it for a number of years. And so I was like, okay, well, this is kind of like birth control. So what's going to happen? Like trying to basically crowdsource answers from other people, and not all of my friends had taken it. So I was like, okay, well, the internet might have answers. And anyway, I pulled all of this information together. I was asked like everyone I worked with at the time away in the office that was a woman, put it all in a spreadsheet, and then I put this spreadsheet.
Who does that?
I'm psychotic. But I'm really very organized. And I put it in my Instagram story, and it was just like, it's been shared hundreds of times at this point. And my co-founder and I were like talking at the time, we're like, why can't we find these stories anywhere? Why can't we find people's experiences and live like experiences taking birth control, experiences like navigating their finances, experiences with friendship breakups, like all these different very real life things. And you might find them scattered across various platforms. You could find the odd news article, but a sort of collective place for community knowledge in a way that's easily searchable and in a way that feels inclusive and fun and sort of like familiar just doesn't exist. And we recognized that women and sort of non-binary people that we're building for, and to start with, at least from a content perspective, they search for information very differently. It's very social in how they search for things. They ask their WhatsApp groups. They
just like you did,
just like I did. They're sort of like crowdsourcing from everyone around them. But there's no technology. Like I can't think of a single place where you can actually like discover or collect or share in the same place. You end up putting it all in your notes app, for example, or these like various of scattered places around on your phone.
And sometimes you don't want anyone to know what you're searching or what you're looking for.
Yeah, and you're like, I don't want to ask my best friend this question. But I want to ask people that might know about it, like under a pseudonym or something. So yeah, basically, as we were going through all of this discovery phase, we realized that there's a really big space at the intersection of like search community products and search products because they don't meet in the middle currently. And if we were to build technology that is inspired by the way women have exchanged information for generations, what could that look like? And so that's really how you can think about diem. And in industry language, we want to build a social search engine, but to the sort of URI, like consumer-wise, it's basically like Q&A with internet friends.
Did you have any business background? Were you entrepreneurial as a kid? Did you ever dream of one day owning your own business?
No. My sister was. Like, my sister had a shop in her bedroom. And there's a running joke in our family that she basically liked using her fake till. And so
my daughter loves it.
Yeah. You'd go into her room and my dad was always concerned because she'd be like, would you like cash back? And he's like, I haven't bought anything. So like, that's just not good business acumen. So she was definitely more, I think, like that when we were younger. But both of our parents, like my dad is a sort of private equity CFO. So he's very like business minded and financially minded. And my mum is an entrepreneur, like runs her own company and always has since I was like 5, I think.
Oh, wow.
So I think that combined, sort of that upbringing, I guess I'd never really thought about it until I was like, I'm really passionate about doing this. I'm more passionate about our mission, which is like closing the gender information gap. And I really just want to make that happen.
So do you think that's the best way to go about it? Be passionate about something first instead of just going, I'm going to open a business, damn it, and let's look at the marketplace. There's a hole here, and let's just try to fill it.
I think that people definitely do that. And
of course they do.
And successful businesses have come out of that.
Sure.
So not to discredit it, but I personally wouldn't be able to work on something as much as you have to work on a sort of founding a company if I wasn't passionate about what we were doing.
I've interviewed a ton of entrepreneurs, and they all say the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I wouldn't wake up at 4 a.m. and think about an idea and get out of bed and go to my laptop.
Yeah.
If I'm not into it or if I'm working for someone else.
I don't get up at 4 a.m, but like, I'm glad that they do.
Yeah. Some people do, I guess. Yeah. I don't either.
Yeah.
So you have this idea. Okay, great. There's tons of everybody has good ideas, right? Now what? So you have this idea for this thing. You don't have any money, right? I mean, you've got a regular job, you're a regular person. So now what?
So I guess given my background in marketing, the most important thing that I knew you could do is start building an audience as soon as possible. And so we launched the newsletter, we launched social channels before we even knew what the product was going to be, and just started talking about it or sharing information or news stories that were relevant to the demo that we wanted to attract. And that's kind of where we started. And then from there, we managed to get an engineer to sort of help code up what an MVP would look like. And this was 2020, so in the middle of COVID. And then
you have a lot of time. You're home, right?
Yeah. And then we decided to apply to the Techstars Accelerator program in New York. And we got in. So that was how we then could hire people to build.
Now, before that, I want to talk about Techstars too, because I'm sure that was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
But I interviewed this guy. Have you ever heard of Liquid Death?
Yes.
Right. If you've been on Instagram, chances are you've seen Liquid Death. Amazing branding.
Amazing.
But what he did first, and it's just exactly what you just described. He said, advice for entrepreneurs out there. And what they did is they launched the product without having a product. So they go, hey, they made some ad for a product that's not, we're Liquid Death water. They made a couple ads.
Yeah.
And then they bought some $5, $10 Facebook ads and to see if there was a response to that.
Yeah.
before anything. I mean, we're talking years before they figured out, okay, how do we get the water from the Alps? Wait, you can't apparently canning water is a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
That's why everybody puts it in plastic bottles. Before you figured any of that stuff out. And I don't, and just like you did, you go, okay, let's just,
figure this out.
Grow a community, grow an audience out there first. And then we'll figure out what the product looks like and all of that.
Yeah.
Do you think that's good advice to the young aspiring entrepreneur watching?
Yeah, I think it's very overwhelming, especially if you're doing like Liquid Death. It's a consumer product, like a CPG product. That didn't make sense. It's CPG.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And that's a lot of money. It requires a lot of money to be able to develop anything like that. Yeah. And so you're like, well, where do I even start if you're thinking of an idea? And especially even with a tech product, you have to hire engineers unless you yourself are an engineer. And that's expensive. Like, they're really expensive hires.
And it's all based on a hunch.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is a good idea.
I think it might work.
But who knows?
Or you're like, I know that this needs to exist. I don't know how it should exist, but I know that something needs to.
I don't know if anyone else thinks this should exist except for me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm the only, maybe the audience is one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think there's like a few things that you can do. Like, one, building a community and an audience. If you're able to do that from the get-go, it's always like, it's better to launch to people that already know who you are than launch day comes around and you have like 5 followers, which is that happens to a lot of people.
And they worry about, they launch the product and they go, oh wait, we need community now.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're going the
because
wrong
what's
way.
even more powerful is, what if the community could help you build what the product is? So like, what if you can get feedback from them, whether it be tech product, CPG, whatever. And so I think there's that part that you can do, but also just like research, like before you start, even honestly, arguably before you even start an Instagram account or a TikTok account, it's like do so much user research. Like, there are so many ways, like Google surveys, there's like sites like Pollfish, all this sort of stuff. Just like test your hypotheses.
For free.
For free. Oh, well, it costs you like $50, but like it's basically free.
Sure.
And you can get so much data, and you can start, like, people are really, like, they go in depth when you give them a Google survey. And that's the first thing that we did before we launched Instagram was we put like a survey, which was actually, I didn't say anything about it being a company that I was thinking about starting. I just put it in my Instagram being like, a friend is doing this. Like, could you fill out what you think about finding, I think it was like women's health information online or something along those lines.
And then how many, that's a great,
we had 800 replies.
Well, before you even get to that, what does the survey look like? How many questions? Was it open-ended? Do you have to ask yes, no? Like, how do you structure a good survey? We had,
I think, about 10 questions.
Okay.
Some were like, multi-choice.
Yeah, multiple choice. Yeah,
I had to think too. My school days. Multiple choice. Mm-hmm. And then some were open-ended. So some were like, what was the last search that you did on Google where you didn't understand, like where you were dissatisfied with the results? And in that box, there are still answers that I think about like every single day. And this was like 2 years ago now, of people being just like word vomiting into this Google survey, which was anonymous. And I'm like, why is this your only place that you can share this? Because like that alone validates our idea.
100%.
But it was just reading some of this stuff, and I'm like, this is crazy. And like amazing that like people are this open, but why are you sharing it in a Google survey?
There should be a place for this, right?
Yeah, there should be a place.
Which validates your idea.
Yeah.
You know, check out, I'm plugging my other interviews, but I interviewed Deepika Mutyala, who was also Forbes 30 Under 30 this year. And she founded this makeup company called Live Tinted. Mm. And she's of East Indian descent. And her whole thing was, I deal with, circles under my eyes. And a lot of Indian women do. So long story short, she started a website, Live Tinted, just a blog about it. And the feedback was so much, and she got so much feedback, and they basically told her, this is the product we want you to make. Mm. And it's like, oh, wait, okay. We'll just listen to these people.
Yeah,
like, okay.
Exactly.
It seems
like you don't need to have all the answers. I think one of the most overwhelming things, or a question that comes up frequently, is, well, where do you start? And you don't have to start with everything. You don't have to start with a product and a marketing strategy and everything figured out. You just start by asking people what they want. and you will very quickly either establish if it's an idea or if it's not one.
So you do Techstars, which is impressive to even get in. I mean, it's very exclusive, right? To get in that, I'm sure they have hundreds of thousands of applicants, right? So you get in. Once you're in, how does it work? How many are you competing against other people?
No.
How many winners are there? Like, how does it work?
There's no competition once you're in.
Oh, okay. Once you're in, you're good.
Yeah. So each cohort or each accelerator program has 10 companies that are accepted. And so we had 9 other companies that were with us.
Cool.
And through, I think it's 12 or 13 weeks, something like that. And it was over the summer of 2020. So it was basically, they never had done it on Zoom before. It's usually all in person. But yeah, they basically teach you how to fundraise. They teach you like how to do financial modeling, like all the sort of stuff, various things you might need to do as an entrepreneur. And then at the end, you have a demo day where you present your business to like hundreds of investors and sort of people like that. And that is meant to then kick off like a fundraise.
Oh, okay. So what about the person who's watching who goes, I've got the idea, there's an audience there, but I don't know how to financial model. I'm just a salesperson, or I just work at a store.
Yeah.
I don't know how to financially model anything. I don't know any venture capitalists. So how do you get it off the ground? Just, raising money from friends and family, I guess? Is that how you start?
Yeah. I mean, if you have friends and family that have money, definitely see if you can get investment from them.
That'd be nice, sure.
But yeah, there's other means available. I think that venture capital in general, like we've obviously gone down the venture capital path, but venture capital is like very, what's the word? Like glorified as basically like the only way to start a business. And that's just like not true at all. Like there are so many other financing options, whether it be like just getting a loan from a bank or, I don't know, like obviously like friends and family is an option, or various like sort of grants, programs and things like that you can get money from. And so I think that it might be that your business isn't venture capital. It's not sort of suited for a venture capital model, which expects like crazy returns.
There's a lot of pressure to you when you take that check.
So it's like a lot of the time, like maybe if you're a product business, like that might not be the most efficient growth model for you. So really it's like figuring out like what do I need? Like, why do I need the money? Like, what is it for? Do I need millions? Do I just need 50,000? Do I just need 5,000? Like, what is it that you need? And to sort of figure it out from there.
So you get almost $1 million, right? Now what? What do you do with it? What's the first thing you do?
Honestly, it was like when we closed our pre-seed, which I guess was a year ago. We just closed our seed. So yeah, it was about a year and a half ago. And we basically knew we needed to hire a team. So we hired like our community lead, editorial, product engineering, and started building and testing. So we had a number of different hypotheses that we wanted to prove out. We also were very aware of what we needed to be able to raise a seed round. So a lot of the pre-seed to seed was tons of testing and also just like validating in a small way that it was something that was needed, that then would enable us to go and raise more money from our seed round, which is what we did in May, June of this year.
I was going to ask you about that too. So you're in beta for 9 months, I think.
Yes.
I read. What were some assumptions you had that proved to be very untrue after you kind of went through that? Were there any like big ones that you thought, I would have sworn it would have went this way, but
Yeah. So I think the biggest one, just from the whole experience, is that when we started Diem, it was going to be very like women's health centric, because given the founding story I shared with you and recognizing that women don't have access to information on their bodies. And so that was what we started with, was all like, it was basically a vertical information on women's health. And from there, people started talking about other things in Diem. So I remember there was one instance in like the hormone channel, and someone started asking about like negotiating their salary. And we were like, okay, well, you clearly feel comfortable here, but like not
really hormone related.
Yeah, it's not really related to your hormones. And so then we were like, okay, let's do lots of research into this. And what we've established is the 3 most popular verticals for our core demo, which is sort of 25 to early 30s, is relationships. So that could be friendship or boyfriend, girlfriend, marriage, that the whole works. Money and reproductive health. So those are our sort of three biggest pillars. And then there are offshoots from there as well.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think that was our biggest thing, was like, oh, people they want more than just health.
Yeah. So you get the money, you make your hires, you go through 9 months of beta testing, and you figure it out. Then what's the next step? Then you have to get more funding because you spend all the money doing all this stuff?
Yes.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
And we also just got to a point where it's like, okay, we've figured out what works. We've figured out a lot of what doesn't work. We haven't reached product market fit yet, I would say. We've definitely got very strong indicators of what is probably going to work very well for us in the next year. But we were like, okay, well, we figured this stuff out. We need to just go and make this a thing now. Like, we've tested all of these things. We've de-risked a lot of it. And so we needed capital to be able to like bring in the right people to be able to like take it to the next level and scale and grow the platform.
But before you even get there, right, it sounds easy now. Looking back, right?
It was horrible.
That's what I want to get to, right? It may look to you really nice and shiny, and look, she's Forbes 30 under 30, she's got a successful company, it's easy. But during that 9 months, so you've got the money, you're spending. There's no income coming in now, then or maybe ever,
now. Yeah.
right? Right now.
Yeah.
So you're spending this money, it's going to run out at some point, and you're finding out you're wrong about certain things, and actually this isn't the right fit. And when is there self-doubt creeping in? And is there, man, I shouldn't have done this, or oh, we should have done this, and I'm so stupid for thinking this? That's got to run through your mind, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think you do think a lot about what you could have done. Like in hindsight, hindsight is the best thing ever.
Of course. You don't make any mistakes.
You don't make any mistakes. But you don't have that. And I also don't think we would have landed where we are now had we not tried everything that we've tried. And I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff we're about to get wrong in the next 6 months as well, or even next 6 years, who knows. And so I think it's really just about not being too hard on yourself in reflection, like recognizing what you can do better, recognizing what you're not going to do again. But in the moment, I don't think I ever got to a point where I'm like, oh, why did I do this? Kind of thing. We were never, like myself and my co-founder, were never really like, let's give it up. Like that's never even been a conversation because we know how much people need the vision that we want to create, and that keeps it going. And I think that in those moments where you do start to like doubt yourself, and you're like, maybe I'm not the right person to do this. It helps me to have a mission, like a personal mission outside of my work. And for me, the only thing I ever want to work on in my life is various projects to do with gender inequality and like education for women, all sorts of things along those lines. And so every time when I'm having a bad day and I'm like, oh, there's a bug in the app again, which for anyone that's ever built a beta product is basically every 5 hours. And you're like, okay, that's not important. Like think of something that in the world that is actually a problem, and ground yourself in like trying to contribute to solving whatever that is.
I think that's an important lesson to anyone watching too, because, at some point you're like, I got to write. We have to do another newsletter, a million other things I could be doing right now that are more important than this, right? But if there wasn't that underlying passion and kind of, even if this thing didn't work out, I would still be fighting for gender inequality and worrying about, doing all these other things. Yeah. So that drives me, whether or not, like you said, we had another bug today. This is the third one we had today, right? And I got to do this.
Yeah.
It sounds like that's the kind of thing that you need almost, where if it was almost like we talked about before, where I'm going to start a company, it doesn't seem like it's good enough to get you through
bad days.
The bad days, or it seemed like there'd be more self-doubt going that way.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously can't speak to that because I have never been in that situation. Like I've never created anything where I'm not passionate about it, but I can imagine it would make it much harder. At least like for me as an individual, I would find it much harder if I didn't have something larger that I was inspired by.
And I think that's a great lesson. Every single person I've sat down to talk with, and whether it's a designer or it's a crypto whatever, it always starts with passion. Every successful one I've ever talked to, and they, have diverse backgrounds and are different industries and everything, but it always comes back to that, it seems like, is passion. And do you have any advice for the person out there who maybe wants to start a business and isn't sure kind of what to do? It's like, I want to start something, but I mean, who knows? Isn't everything already made? Like, what do I do?
I think it's really about being like questioning like why you want to start something. And I think some people are like, I just want to work for myself. And that doesn't mean that you necessarily have to found a company. You could just be freelance, for example, which is an equally admirable path. And so I think there's a lot of focus on this concept of startups and like Silicon Valley being this like sexy thing and like all of this sort of stuff, which is very easy. Like it is cool. Like people are building really cool world-changing products and technology, and it's amazing to witness it and be a part of it. But I think it's more about like, why is it that you want to start something? Because if you're just like, oh, I really would like to start a company, it's like, well, like why? Like what is your purpose? And sort of figuring out like what your purpose is, I think probably would help you figure out what you might want to create. Because usually you'd have to have experienced a problem to be like, oh, I could create a solution to this.
And it doesn't happen for everybody. It may never happen, but not everybody has that, you know, passion enough to take it from, or almost an obsession. Would you argue? Because passion could be, passion could be like, I'm learning to play the piano. Like, it's cool. I want to play hip hop songs on piano and old soul stuff, right? That's like a hobby, right? I'm never going to be professional. You know, if I'm not into it that day, I'm not going to do it. You know, I'll do it. Oh, I haven't played for 2 weeks. Who cares, right? I'm never going to be good at this schedule, right? But if you have an obsession, that's something different. Do you think you have to have beyond passion? It's got to be passion with obsession, or you kind of just have a hobby, it sounds like.
I think, it's a good question. I'm not...
Like, you could have just been blogger writing about these things. Why aren't you?
I don't know. Why am I not? What have I done?
What have you done?
What have I gone wrong? Where have I gone wrong?
Like, you didn't have to go through all this. You didn't have to apply to Techstars. So there's something different about you than there's other people who care about gender inequality and stuff and do their own thing, but not to this extreme. So do you think you do need, I think in my opinion, I think you do.
I think you do need a sort of very extreme or intense focus on what it is that you're trying to achieve and why you're trying to achieve it. I would say, I think to turn a passion into a business is like, not many people will go down that path because it's really hard. Like, it's it's not fun or sexy or any of the things that it looks like in, I don't know, interviews like this.
This looks sexy,
Like, it looks sexy, it's fun. There's
but
lots
we
of
didn't
lights
see
around
you
us.
the third month into beta testing.
You didn't see me yesterday when I got up at 4 a.m. to fly to Los Angeles and then had to go and host an event for the whole evening and be on and present and all of that sort of stuff. And I think that...
And today's Veterans Day we're shooting, right?
Is it?
You don't have a day off because it's Veterans Day, right? You don't even know,
No idea.
But like, my kids are off, my wife's off, like, I'm here, you're here, right? It doesn't matter, it's a holiday.
It's basically, I think that founding a company, you're probably a pretty intense personality type, or you're like very driven to achieve something for whatever reason. And so, you definitely need more than probably just being passionate about an interest area.
Now I'll go the other way. Now, how do you come down from that? When you've been working, 18 hours in a row or something and you're trying to sleep and you're just thinking about whatever, like, what's your escape? Like, what brings you away from that? Is there anything, or are you just 100% in this all the time?
I don't find it exhausting.
No?
There's moments where I recognize, okay, you're like lacking, you're not focusing, you're like clearly tired, or you've spent too much time doing this project.
Or you're not taking care of yourself physically or whatever.
So for me, it's just more about consistency across the board. So I always exercise like 4 times a week, and I'm like militant about it now. I'm like, I have to do this, and not just because I like want to be fit and healthy, but it's just like, this is 45 minutes where I'm not looking at my phone and I'm so sweaty and so like out of breath that I actually can't think about anything else.
I completely agree.
And you're like, oh my God, I'm actually gonna die. Like,
I'm just
I might
trying not to die
on this treadmill. Exactly.
Yes.
And that, I think, that to me helps. And it's just like consistency. It's not about doing things in extreme measures the whole time. Like I don't have 2 weeks where I don't leave my laptop, and then I need 2 weeks to sort of recuperate after doing something like that. It's just like trying to be consistent with the well-being and the personal health and that stuff at the same time as being like, I need to work really hard.
So what's next for the company? What do you have going on?
We've got lots of things going on. So the biggest thing is over the next month, our product is rolling out more publicly, which is very exciting. So you'll be able to go to Diem and start a Diem, which is a public search query that basically, if your friends don't have the answer, you can ask them, ask a whole community of people the question and get very valuable contributions. So that's a big thing for us, and we're really excited to test that on a larger scale. We've also started rolling out our event series, which is called IRL DMs, where we invite a sort of influential or really cool woman to curate a dinner party or a breakfast or a hike. Yeah. And they invite 12 people. They pick a topic that they think these 12 people would have an interesting answer to. They start the question in the DM product. Everyone before dinner has to share one thing as their ticket to the event. And then they have a really fun dinner.
Wait, so is it one thought leader and then people from your community?
From their community.
Oh, I got you. So it's all kind of thought leader, smart people.
Yeah.
But talking about things that your community cares about.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It's
Do you
basically,
film it or anything?
So to get into the event, you have to have shared as a guest, you have to have written one contribution in reply to the host's DM.
Oh, okay.
And so the idea there, I think there's like ways that we'll expand on it in the future to sort of get this knowledge out further. But really the idea is that, like, have you ever been sitting in a restaurant and you've seen this like really cool group of women and they're like all talking about something and you're like, oh, they all look so cool. I wish I could be in that conversation. And that's what we want a DM to feel like, is like you get access to these sort of otherwise private moments and otherwise private information that doesn't live anywhere. It would live in their WhatsApp group, but why should it? Like, it doesn't have to. Yep.
That's funny. Like, that back to that girl, Deepika, you should meet her. She's an incredible founder. But that was her whole thing too, is like, I always wanted to sit at the cool kids table when I was in high school, and I wasn't invited, right? So I decided, like, why not start my own cool kids table and invite everyone? And it sounds like that's what you're doing too. Are you guys very inclusive and are very aware of that?
Yeah,
your whole thing is inclusivity, right?
Yeah, it's basically like we believe that information online and in a lot of places is not inclusive. And I think that inclusive means a lot of different things, or can mean a lot of different things.
What's it mean to you and your brand?
Good question. It's obviously, for us, it's that the community itself has like a diverse set of backgrounds, whether that be professional, whether that be gender, whether that be race, whether that be interest area, like all of these things that make us individuals as humans, like our lived experiences. We want to make sure that we have like lots of different type of people so they can contribute different resources to the platform. So there's inclusive from that standpoint. I think there's also thinking about how you can make technology itself and feature sets more inclusive and less susceptible to abuse, as we're sort of seeing with the demise of Twitter right now.
Oh my God.
And all the sort of like show that's going on there. But
what do you think of that, real quick? Were you a big Twitter user?
I really have always liked Twitter.
I always liked Twitter. Yeah,
I don't have a problem with it. I never really cared about it. I think that social platforms in general, I have big problems with their security features, and I have a lot of takes on that whole space. But I think that the Twitter stuff, to me, I'm so over this like savant engineer founder being like this glorified hero and a so-called genius at everything. It's like, if you can see it in fundraising, like, and yes, they're very
like
talented. Yeah, but
almost.
it's like this messiah, and investors are obsessed with them. And I'm like, just because they're really good at this thing, it doesn't mean that other people's skills are less good. Like, technology, in my view, it's like we need more people who understand community to build social products. Like, engineers shouldn't be the ones defining the feature sets.
Let's be real. I come from sales and marketing, and I used to have to interact with a lot of engineers. Engineers aren't always the most social people.
No, right? And they're like great. They're like awesome at what they do.
They have a different skill set.
Yeah.
I couldn't design a website, right?
No.
But I have a different skill set than they do.
Yeah.
I don't want them designing I want my sales and marketing person building a community.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
them.
So that's like what we want to do differently is like our product is like as equally influenced by like technical talent as it is by our like head of community or our editorial director, because like our business is a lot about like how you feel while you're in there, as well as like what amazing content you're seeing and how you're discovering it, and like really trying to make it feel more like your journey currently, but when you ask your friends questions. And I don't think that people have built technology via a more human lens in that way.
You know, it's funny, and we're almost out of time, but you mentioned community again, and when you were speaking before, when I asked you, hey, what'd you do with the 900 grand or whatever, and one of the, I think the first hire you mentioned was head of community.
Yeah.
Right? Just leave us with a nugget on building community, and how do you do it? You know, because everyone watching wants a larger.
It's a buzzword.
It is a buzzword,
Yeah.
but whether it's for their product, they want a community around it, or whether they're trying to build a personal brand and become a thought leader, or they just want to get famous on TikTok.
Yeah.
The one thing in common with all those things is you need community to get you there.
Yeah.
So any like tips that could apply to anyone?
I think the biggest thing is there's a very big difference between audience and community. So I think that audience
so
is what
true.
everyone thinks community is, but it's not. You don't actually need community. Like it's completely unrealistic to say I have a community of 1 million people, because no one knows 1 million people in real life. Like there's no capacity in your brain to.
And those million
know that.
people aren't going to buy what you're selling.
No, well, it's more like the
Or
audience. You can
care.
have it like billions of an audience or product users or whatever, but you don't need your like core like super users. That's who your community are. And it's like, how do you find them? Who are the people that are always commenting in your product? Who are the people that are buying it obsessively, gifting it to their friends, tagging you on Instagram, all of that stuff? They're the people that you should approach and be like, hey, I'd love to understand why you like us. Like what is it that you really like about diem or my X brand? And talk to them, be like, oh, this is really interesting. Like, are you interested in joining a more intimate community experience if we were to create one? Because a lot of people can't be bothered. Like they're like, I don't need to be in another Slack channel. I don't need to be in another, I don't know,
Discord
thing,
or something, yeah.
that's not serving me because I'm not looking at it. So yeah, it's really about, first of all, your audience, as in like the total number of followers that you have is not a community.
Nope.
A community is when people, it's like connections outside of you. So it's like your brand is here.
Mm-hmm.
These people are sort of in a circle interested in the product, but like community is when these people start talking with each other outside of your involvement. So that is the biggest thing to consider in building any community product. If you just want to build a community to increase retention, whatever it might be, it's just like focus on creating the connection points between your audience, and that builds your community.
That is such a good thing to end on, because I think what a lot of people do, and I've been guilty of this, it's like you look past the person who's in front of you,
Yeah.
engaging and commenting and stuff, and you go,
Where's the next person?
where's the next? My
Yeah.
number's too low. I need the
Yeah.
audience, not the community. I need the audience to get bigger.
Yeah.
When you go, hey, bozo, there's
No.
people right in front of you who are in your community.
already here.
They're already here.
Yeah.
Focus on them and
Yeah.
stop looking. It's like
Well,
that song,
it's-
Love the One You're With.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's also like if you focus on them, they will recommend you. You don't have to go and find the other people because you've already given them attention and they are excited to be involved. And so they will tell everyone else.
Nice. Well, thank you so much. This was really a pleasure.
Thank
I
you
learned
so
a lot
much.
too. Hopefully you did too. As if you like this, subscribe, turn on notifications. There's new interviews every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time with just a diverse group of entrepreneurs who can give you business lessons that you can apply to your business, but also life lessons too that you can apply to your life. So that's the goal of these, is to get a little inspiration from the story, but also get real tangible things you can apply to your life. So thank you so much for watching. Thanks, guys.